whatever it is you do, if it's disorganized, you don't like it. So why is it that you want your way to God to be any way that you want? This guy will do it through that, this will do it through doing this act of worship, and they'll invent things, and it'll get you there. So you give them comparisons to the dunya. And that's like number 3 there, evil. So the evil in the jar of darkness. Like sometimes someone will ask you, and let's do this, and you can answer using any technique you like. Someone asks you, why does Allah allow evil on earth? Or why do good things, or why do bad things happen to good people? If someone's good, why does a bad thing happen to a good person? So now how many ways do you want to answer this? Yes, sir.
Allah has various ways of testing a believer, and just because He's doing you doing you favors in the dunya doesn't mean that He's pleased with you. It's just a way of testing you.
Okay, good. So now let's do this, just so we're very clear on this point. We're having one question. If you're taking notes, write down, why do bad things happen to good people? That's the question. And then I want you to list all the different ways and techniques that you can respond to this question. Just so I can get an idea of how it's one question, but I can apply any one of these methods to answer it. So why do bad things happen to good people? Number 1, our brother said that Allah is testing people. So it's a test. It's part of the test. It's a test for those people, and it's a test also for other people. Will they react? Will they assist? Will they help? And will they, become unified? All of that. So that's another way to answer it. Yes, sir.
To higher the rank.
Okay, so then you link it to the akhirah. So it will elevate their rank in the akhirah. It will expiate from their sins in this dunya and move them forward in the akhirah. So that's another way of explaining it. Yes, sir.
This is bad according to you, but it doesn't have to be bad according to Allah or according to...
So now you're looking at the infinite wisdom of Allah Azza wa Jal. Something happens to you now and it seems like a bad thing, and years later you see that it's a good thing. I'm sure everyone in this room can think of something like that. It was bad at that time, but later on it was good. Yes, sir. That was 3.
For life to be fair, you should have the same number of years of misery as you do of happiness.
Okay. It's a bit too much. We don't want the same, yeah? But okay. So you're talking about how it makes life fair, it makes life balanced, that if, like the argument, if you didn't experience the bad, you wouldn't really enjoy the good as much, so you can use that. That's number 4. Yes, sir.
What if nothing bad happened to anybody? Everything was perfect.
Oh, I like you. He's saying, what if nothing bad happened to anybody? So now he's responding by asking and getting them to think about the question. That's another technique now. Very good. Or it's similar to another technique that we're going to come to, and I'm just going to mention here, using the flip side of the argument. The flip side of the argument. Flip the argument around. Yes, sir?
In life, if you want to get a career, you have to go through school, you have to go through training, you have to go through these hardships and tests.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are trying to get into heaven, don't you think you have to go through the same training?
Excellent.
Tests?
Right. Sorry, sisters, can you hear? I'm so sorry. So he said, in life, and brothers, let's do this also. Raise your voices a little, okay? Or a lot, okay? Try to remember that, so the sisters can hear also. So he's saying that in life, if whatever you want, you have to go through tests and training, and you want a degree, you go through the difficulty. So what technique is he using? Analogies, making a comparison to the dunya. Excellent. Someone else had their hand up over here. Yes, Salman. Go ahead.
Maybe it's a punishment from Allah.
Okay, possibly a punishment. Yeah.
Why can't we just compare our difficulties with the difficulties of the pious people before us?
Okay. So, all right. So you're saying, the worst could have happened. Sister in the back.
You can say that. What do you mean by good people? Maybe the things that they're doing in their life is causing problems.
So now getting into the details a little bit. Let's define good people. Yes.
Also, that dunya must be a land of happiness. The land of infinite happiness is
Excellent. You understand that? Sister saying, who said the dunya has to be the land of happiness? Land of happiness is there. Okay, sorry, I'm going to ask someone to give us the flip side of the argument. Use that technique now. The flip side of the argument. There are many ways you can flip this argument around. Flip it back on them. it gets them to think. When you flip it gets people to think about their question again. Flip it.
You could say, why do, like,
Uh-huh.
why do, because
Just reverse the words.
Yeah.
Good.
why do bad things happen to you guys?
Why do bad things happen to you guys? Who are you guys? No, the question was, why do bad things happen to good people? So the reverse would be, why do good things happen to bad people? Everyone understand that? That's the flip side. Keep flipping it. We're still on flipping it, only flipping it.
Why do bad?
You don't have to flip the wording, but you flip the idea also.
Why do good stuff happen
To bad people.
to bad
Jazakallah khair. Shiraz.
Why wouldn't bad things happen to good people?
Okay. So why wouldn't? So he's saying, why not? Alright. Yeah?
They ask, why is there evil? You ask them, why is there good? What they just like, it doesn't make good.
Okay. So now it's, we're defining words again, Omar.
How can you differentiate between what is good and what is bad?
Okay. It's kind of like the earlier argument. It might be bad now, but it's actually on the long term very good for you. Alright, I'll add one more to that. One of the ways okay, sister?
Well, can I ask, for example, do you follow every minute how many beats your heart beats? And if you said no, then when you would pay attention to that, which basically when you get illness, such as your heart or something like that.
So you're trying to say that...
And we don't follow some lessons we have.
Excellent.
You are just
Jazakallah khair. Okay. Right, now let me ask you this. Sorry. There's one more thing, and again flipping the argument around, and you want them to think about their question, because I don't accept that kind of question. Why do bad things happen to good people? So I usually, when someone asks me that question, and I'm not saying again, I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm doing here. I just want to share a technique with you. I'm not saying that, okay, you guys are done. Let me show you how you do it. That's not what I'm saying, all right? I'm just sharing a technique with you. I let you speak, and then I'm not saying this is the cherry on top. Now pay attention. So what I'm trying to say is, when someone asks me that question, I usually say, and this is just because it's easier for me, I usually ask them, how much intervention do you want? How much intervention do you want in this world? You don't want, their argument, they don't want bad things to happen to good people. So then I tell them about a good man. He's up on his son. It's a Sunday. His family, children are playing in the garden, and he's working on the ceiling, on the roof, shingles or whatever. And then he's up on his high ladder. The ladder starts to slowly tip, and he's going to smash into the hard concrete floor in front of his family. And he's a good person by your definition, whatever definition it is, good person, whatever. He's going to fall. How much intervention do you want? You don't want bad things to happen to good people. So what do you want to happen now? Suddenly a big king-size mattress shows up underneath the guy. And posturpedic even, not just any mattress. Sleep number bed, on the softest number. So how much intervention do you want? A good person is walking down the aisle in the grocery store, he slips on the water, he's about to smash and break his bones on the hard floor. Suddenly there's a big feather pillow underneath him. Or there's a mudslide in one of the villages. And all the children shouldn't be injured because they're good, the little kids. And so, their parents, 100,000 of them, die in the mudslide. But all the children, when the rescuers come, they're like, 200,000 children sitting with the mud and just staring wide-eyed, and they're sitting there because nothing bad happened to them. Just their parents died, and now we need to find homes for all of them, and so on and so forth. So how much intervention do you want? And there's also, by the way, about the evil on earth, there is also another analogy now with the and with how Allah Azza wa Jal created human beings, and He gave them free will. So that's not an analogy. There's the free will thing. So sometimes people choose to do bad things to other people, and then it becomes a bad thing. But they have been given free will by Allah. That's one thing. Another thing is that also that Allah Azza wa Jal commanded us, and He taught us how the good comes. But when we choose to leave the guidance of Allah, evil occurs, and that's the analogy with the jar. So like right now, this transparent bottle here, in a room that's lit like this, if I give it to you, while the room is still lit, can you give it back to me with darkness inside it? No. Why not?
Darkness is the absence of light.
Jazakallah khair, brother. Ziyad said darkness is the absence of light. Darkness doesn't occur in and of it by itself. It only occurs as a result of the lack of something else. When there's no light, we get darkness. So someone will tell me, if God is good, why did He create evil? So listen, Allah Azza wa Jal, He created good, and He showed us the way to good. But when we choose to not follow the light of Allah, or the guidance of Allah, we get evil. And that's why there's one time someone said, I don't understand. And I said, look, if I give you a jar, can you give it back to me full of dark or darkness? He said, no. So I said, he didn't say no. He said, I understand. He immediately got it. So when people don't follow the light of Allah, and they murder, and they steal, and they lie, evil occurs in the world. Allah didn't force the evil on people or make them do evil. And so, again, it's just an analogy, it's a way of clearing the... So a lot of times when people, and again, I'm not saying it's the best way, but sometimes when people ask me, well, why is there so much evil on earth if God is good and so on, and He wants good for us? But look, Allah gave us free will, He taught us the right way, and then I tell them it's like the jar. And if you don't want to use the jar, you can use cold. Cold doesn't really exist. I'm sure you as Canadians know this thing. Cold doesn't exist by itself. It only happens when something else is not there, which is heat or energy. When there's no heat and there's no energy, you get cold. And that's why there's something called absolute zero, right? Physics people? Any physics people here? Yeah? Scientists? Yeah. Absolute zero is how many degrees Celsius?
Minus 273.16.
Excuse me?
Minus 273.16.
273.16. Okay, good. Right, so that's absolute zero, because you can't get colder than that. Why not? Because that's a time when there is zero energy, there's zero heat. So cold only occurs when there's no heat. So you can use these analogies to explain things to people. So, and that's why, but get to think about any way that we mentioned. I don't know how many we mentioned, like 6, 7, 8 ways of answering that question. So pick the one that you like, or pick the one that's for you, that's the easiest and fastest, or get the point across. Oh, really? You tell me stop? Okay, but I think it's probably time. So what time is it? Oh, wow. You went clear to lunch, right? Lunch is 12:30 or 1? 1. Okay, so we take a 10-minute break and then do 50 minutes to lunch? Alright, so we'll take a 10-minute break, inshallah.